You want great aim? You've got to have great movement as well. And like we've talked about in the past, watching the pros is one of the best ways to see what the most optimized version of mechanics looks like. So we're going to look at a few clips to start off with before we get into the methods that we can use to practice movement so that we can combine it with our aim to really level up our game. Okay, let's begin with Bang from 100 Thieves. Pay particular attention to the third sheriff shot, where Bang strafes out and then back and times it so that he fires precisely when he is accurate in between the right-left movement. The last two kills show great timing and execution with the movement and the aim, and this constant movement makes Bang unpredictable, it makes him harder to hit, and it allows him to take the initiative and keep the pressure up. With 50% speed, we can really see how good Bang is on the execution of making sure that he pauses after each small movement to make sure that he's accurate before he fires. This clean execution is something that we should aspire to as well, and we can get there with training. I had to have Cryo cells in the video, so here he is. In this clip, I want you to pay attention to the micro corrections that come after the movement in case the crosshair is a bit off, and also the hit confirm, because sometimes the crosshair won't be off and your brain has to understand that that is the time to click, like in the second last kill in this clip. The pros are showing us mastery of understanding precisely when that window is, when you're accurate, when you're going between that right-left movement where the velocity of your player model is 0. We see Cryo use it here again to make sure that he can continue to take initiative in these fights, and he even gets that extra sheriff shot off before he falls back to showers. So it's fair to say that it is clear. If you want to have aim that is as good as the pros, you absolutely need to get mastery over your movement as well, especially as it relates to your aim. And as we've seen in these clips, the combination of those two things gives you lots of options in the fight. You can become very dynamic, you can keep the pressure on your opponents, you have so much more ability to really leverage any good aim that you have into dominating your opposition. So how do we do this? The way to do this is to make it into second nature and to have a high standard for ourselves, to challenge ourselves with our training so that we can actually create this intuition by just rigorously practicing what we need to practice, which is getting the movement right. And so let's look at some drills that we can do in the range, in Deathmatch, to be able to achieve this. And we can also talk about some of the other benefits of this, like for example, not needing to crouch randomly when you're shooting because you get kind of nervous. So the first drill to keep things simple is to help us practice and understand the relationship between the movement and the clicking timing. So we are accurate when our velocity, our player velocity, is very low. And so the ways to do that is to come to a complete stop, or as we see in this video, to be pressing A, and then when we press D, because we're switching direction, there is a moment when our velocity drops massively, allowing us full accuracy. And that is the timing we saw the pro players abuse to be able to do really cool stuff. And you can try to do these drills as I am in this video, where you're just understanding, okay, I want to slowly go further out from the center with this so I can get a feeling for if I'm doing longer strafes, and I'm going to now try to do it the opposite way. So really just practice different versions of this to try to get the feeling for when you're accurate. The second version of this drill is doing it against the bots, as you can see here. The third drill that you can do is to get a corner like this one and try to shoot the bots and to not stop moving. And this is going to replicate those moments in game where you're pre-aiming a position and you're swinging that corner, you're trying to stay really tight to the corner and you're not stopping at all as you try to find that accuracy. So for the final drill, we are incorporating mouse movement to add another layer of difficulty. Now, of course, this is also more practical because you do have to use mouse movement in conjunction with the movement and click timing. So what we want to do is either track or flick, whatever feels natural, but we want to make sure we're focusing on the movement and the click timing to make sure that we can really get that feeling with this repetition of when we're in that accuracy zone, and that's when we're clicking. And this will be highly beneficial to your gameplay. You'll probably find that this feels very challenging to be consistent, especially if you're mixing up the distances for your swings, but if you put in the training and keep challenging yourselves, the results will follow. The in-game training is key, and with Deathmatch, you can practice the same kinds of drills you were doing in the range. In this particular sequence, I have a lot of kind of very short strafes where I'm trying to find that accuracy zone. And Deathmatch is really your playground to apply the things that you need to train the most when it comes to movement and shooting. So I'll leave it open-ended in terms of a recommendation as to how you should spend the time in Deathmatch, but I will say, just make sure that it's focused and that you're challenging yourself. So to wrap things up, let's talk about a few of the additional benefits that you'll get by unlocking this movement skill. Now, one of the things that you'll have is a lot more control with your movement and aim in conjunction with one another. So that will allow you to feel a lot less pressure in fights that you'll find maybe you commonly spam crouch. Like spamming crouch is a crutch that many players have, and it's not to say that using crouch is bad in fights, it's just that most players use it as a bad habit as opposed to keeping themselves on the move. Because if, for example, you shoot a couple bullets and miss and move instead of crouching, even if it's a tiny move, you might be harder to hit, you'll be able to reset your aim, and you'll be able to be more accurate and confident in the fight and have more options. Now, that's not necessarily always the best move, but again, I can guarantee that most players aren't doing it enough. Now, the next thing is the very long-range fights where players are really far away from you. If you have really good movement control, then you don't even have to even use your mouse to actually aim in a lot of these long-range duels. Now, of course, the micro adjustments are often necessary, but having, again, that extra movement control can really help to give you that extra tool to be accurate in those situations. And then lastly, the movement control is going to really help with your pre-aim. A lot of players struggle to have really good pre-aim where they're limiting the angle that they're peaking, so they're only exposed exactly to the right amount. And then similarly, if you're going to kind of swing a position, you're going to have, again, a better and more consistent stop and then fire execution, so you'll be more accurate more of the time. So here are some of the key benefits that you'll get, and again, this will really help to raise your level as a player. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If there are any other similar topics you'd like me to cover, please leave them in the comments, and please subscribe, like, share, and all the rest of it as I grow the channel. It's really appreciated. Cheers.